Always a solid intro, Shaun. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Central Mafia's PitchIT 2026 series. Shaun, it's really great to have you again another week. It's been about a month now, so we get to have some really cool conversations. And so let's just dive in. What is PitchIT again?
Great question, Adam. What is PitchIT? What is PitchIT? Said PitchIT. It is a Shark Tank-like competition for startup vendors that are in the space supporting the MSPs. They are the top of the tier for what we do with startups, and they are in this competition. They are all gunning to try to become, there are currently 20 vendors in now. They are going to, over the next 16, well, now we're at 12 weeks, about 12 weeks left remaining here, that they're going to go through, and then eventually they're going to pitch in the preliminaries to become one of the 3 finalists to compete at IT Nation Connect Global in November in Orlando, and they are competing for $150,000 in prizes and cash.
Nice. That's really, really awesome. It's a lot of prizes, a lot of action, a lot of conversations we're having. But we haven't done this before, but I would like to talk a little bit about Central Mafia here just briefly. I just want to make sure we check out centralmafiaug.com. Join there. Tell us a little bit about that, Shaun, as well.
So Central Mafia User Group stem from ConnectWise user groups. It is ran, created, built, led, all the above by and for the MSPs. So, and there are 2 different areas that are taking place where we have facilitators of both. You got, Keith Nelson, you got Aaron, we got Juan Mack. They're all facilitating, but we have 2 different regions that we're supporting. One being over in California. We had our first meetup in Anaheim in April, went really well. And then we have the Central Mafia that's over in Chicago at Burr Ridge, where they meet twice a year. So we have 2 meetups happening in September and October. September is Chicago, and October is Anaheim. It is free for MSPs to attend. The vendors that sponsored, they're the ones that paid the bill. So you should come hang out. Bill's been paid. We have a couple happy hours. We play games, and there's a lot more about education and with the products that you work with the most.
Awesome. Well, part of that conversation is just the real conversations, and I want to bring on, getting back to PitchIT here, I want to bring on Shaun here from Spotto. How you doing, Shaun?
Hey guys, I'm really good, thank you.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself, a little about Spotto, and why you got this thing started.
A bit about myself. Nearly 50, so I'm really feeling my age. I got 3 kids, all teenage boys. I live in a beautiful place of the world called Auckland, New Zealand. And I've been I've worked in MSPs all my life, north of 25 years, and including owning and exiting one. And I can provide more detail on that as we go through. But how Spotto came about, Spotto is a AI enhanced cloud operations platform built for MSPs to help them be profitable and scale profitably. And so there's really 2 lenses that you look at Spotto. So one is a revenue engine side, where we're identifying what optimizations and recommendations of work to do and packaging them up in a way that is explainable to the end customer. And they're ranked and stacked by impact and effort. So easy to wrap up, do the analysis. And then the other lens that you look at Spotto through is the ways of working. It's a cloud operator's best friend. So it does the heavy lifting, the analysis of what to do and why, and explains the findings. And then it's also friendly, of course, to client relationship managers, pre-sales, because it does a lot of the explaining, the analysis of, is it healthy? What should I do? But also, what have you done for me lately? Like explain what work's changed in environment, help pull those analysis and QPRs and those reporting. So we think this is a really powerful tool for MSPs as they're looking to land an AI analysis tool to move their engineers up the value chain and move away from time for money.
Love that. So I have a bunch of questions. First off, let's clarify. I'm already 50, so I'm already feeling it. And yeah, you have 3 sons. I have 4 daughters, and I have grandchildren, so I'm even feeling it worse. But enough of my demise. Let's talk back about you there. So, what time is it for you right now, by the way?
It is 6:06 in the morning.
Look at you. You normally get up this early?
Coffee time.
Is this your normal time of getting up and functioning?
Normally around 6 o'clock. I normally like to think I get up and do exercise, but it's winter here, so I normally roll out a little later, treat myself a little bit.
Oh, that's fair. All right. So now on to the business conversation. You said the line you just used was for the engineers to move them up in the ladder for value, right? Explain what you mean by that.
Yeah, so a cloud engineer for an MSP will have some activities they do day to day. They'll log into a customer's environment. They'll look at what are the things that have come through, and they'll be bouncing around the activities that typically more in a reactive model. And a lot of the analysis that is done is mundane, and that analysis can be done by the computers, by a tool like Spotto. And so those engineers can stop doing that, which frees their time up, which means that they can think about what are the things that move the needle for the customer? What are some strategic items or modernization pieces of work that they now have the time to do by not having to do those day-to-day tasks?
Okay. And by the strategic stuff, you guys support that as well?
So we're an enablement tool. We certainly have, we look at well-architected framework and landing zone reviews as a gap analysis and help package it up. But it's more about giving the information to the engineers and the MSPs to do that work. That's really still their space.
Okay, fair. Adam,
awesome. I know. Well, thank you, Shaun, very much. And I'm going to put you in the green room, and we'll be back talking to you here in just a minute. Whew, that was a lot. I love this stuff. And while driving from PAX 8 to California.
Nice.
Doing a live stream here. So let's bring on Lewis from Handover. How you doing, Lewis?
Hi guys, good. You?
Doing very well, very well. Where are you calling in from?
Birmingham, UK. So a bit less sunny than Australia, like Shaun, and also a bit later in the day.
Birmingham. That's where Birmingham. That's like Peaky Blinders. You can't understand anything they say.
Hopefully you can understand me, but yeah, no, it's.
Oh yeah, you're way better. I had to put the closed caption on so I can know what they were saying sometimes, because the highly intoxicated, like elevated scenes when they're just yelling, I'm like, I don't even know what you're even saying, man. And then I come to find out
that sometimes.
I come to find out that the people when you're in that country also can't understand you all either at times. So that's even worse.
Yep. Yeah. So Lewis, what time is it over there? Is it 6 p.m.? So it's like
7.
24-hour difference.
7 p.m.
Woo. We got all over the world on this show, Shaun.
Yes.
So, Lewis, tell us a little bit about Handover, a little bit about yourself. How'd you get this thing kicked off?
Yeah, so I'm 18, so kind of polar opposites with Shaun in another way. And I also work full time as a technical project manager at an MSP while building Handover. And the reason behind building Handover was I'd run this kind of internal project meeting every week, a bit of a stand-up meeting, and ask the engineers, what's the latest on all the projects, and fill out this Excel doc, and then send out emails to every client or every internal guy with things to do for the week. And I just thought, man, this is taking up like my entire day. And I suppose out of laziness, and we used Halo, which has a great API. I just thought, what? Surely I can automate this. It's not the most technical work. It can be done. So kind of went from there, and now I don't have to do that stuff, and some other guys don't have to either.
Wow.
So
I just
wait. 18?
Yeah. the youngest contestant.
Now that makes me angry. He's 18. Let's be clear. It makes me very angry.
Literally half our ages.
And I mean, is that why you're trying to grow a beard?
Yeah,
You got the 18-year-old
ageism. It's
beard.
yeah, ageism. It's a big thing. I've tried to get the minoxidil on it, but it's still a work in progress.
Oh God. Okay. What made you create this again? This product? What was the reason why this exists?
So I was spending a ton of time basically writing Excel docs or sending emails out to internal guys or external guys looking in the PSA to find the latest on all the context, and it just took up so much time. I mean, it was probably 20 hours of my week spent on this admin, repetitive, mundane work. So I just looked into automating it, and I thought, what, this is pretty good. It saved me a lot of time. So went from there. I thought surely other people feel the same issues, especially your PMs and your senior your service delivery managers, and they felt the pain too.
Nice. Okay.
Impressive. And so, were you working within an MSP business doing this?
Yeah. So I still work there now. So it's some late nights of building, but it's all fun.
Yeah.
How much time? Just out of curiosity, have you estimated, or do you have any kind of proof of how much time is being saved as a result of this?
So I mean, me personally, I've saved about 20 hours a week.
Wow.
Some weeks obviously it ranges depending on the week, what projects you've got going on, what tickets you've got going on, and things like that. We're still quite early, so still kind of gathering those case studies. But from our kind of trials, we've seen people save up to 10 hours a week themselves, and that's senior project managers or that kind of thing. So a lot of time being saved.
Would this be something that would integrate into a project management platform too?
Hopefully down the line, it's something on the roadmap. Like MS Project is something we've heard a bit of interest for.
Yeah.
But it entirely depends on the kind of demand. What people want. We've had a bit of interest in integrating into different PSAs, so we've got to prioritize based on what's got the most demand.
Makes sense. So you end up becoming like a middleware almost, and it sounds like, for PSA and project management platforms.
Yeah, essentially, saving all that admin time, so they don't have to look in their PSA. Make life so much easier.
Absolutely, for sure.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and bring Shaun back on. Now we got the duo.
Shaun, my first question right out of the gate, Shaun, how do you feel about Lewis's 18-year-old beard?
Not bad. Not bad.
Do you need a full?
One side's full.
Amazing how young you are. It's well done. It's really impressive that you're having a crack. Yeah, it's quite inspirational.
How do you
About the business, not the beard.
How do you feel? Right, exactly. How do you feel about the fact that his knees are still in good shape? His back is fine. He can probably still tie his own shoes, stuff like that.
That's an overstatement. That's a big overstatement.
Well, what about this? Oh, I don't really want to do this Excel work. Let me create a software company to go solve that problem and save me 20 hours a week. That is an 18-year-old mindset. That's mind-blowing.
Gen Z, it is.
Yeah.
Gen Z. I don't know if I call it Gen Z.
I don't know.
If it was Gen Z, you'd be wearing a bikini and being an influencer, talking about you're at how great life is. And
just the generation start over. Don't go back to A and then it goes up from there. I don't know.
Right? Yeah. So, all right.
So you've been here at PitchIT now a month. So let's go with Shaun. What's been kind of the biggest shift you've been thinking about while in PitchIT the past month?
There's been a few things actually. There was I think probably the biggest compounding one is around the ICP. So we had already worked out what our ICP was. We thought it looked, here's our primary, here's our secondary inside the MSP, and just it sort of seemed like it crossed over at the right time where I guess we were talking about it as part of PitchIT, but also we were then looking at what the signals were and the feedback was coming through. So that was good. That was a good, honest conversation with ourselves around that. The IT evaluations bit, that was really good to see how I I guess the valuations that are coming through based on EBITDA and the supply demand and the PE, what it's sort of looking like, and the numbers increasing. But also, one of the insights, which I'm an engineer as a background, and I was a tech founder. But 90% of the owners of MSPs are engineers, are tech led, which means there's an opportunity there to help with sales. The interesting part, I thought the other part was sales led, but there's actually a smaller percentage of finance. And the other one that rings true was the Lee Silverstone, I think his name was. He talked about your moat and the flywheel, and just starting to think about what you're building and how you're protecting it, and also PMF. So from a product market fit piece was around, I think the words were, you'll know you have PMF, it's like a boulder rolling down the hill and you're chasing after it. So I'm still pushing the boulder up the hill at the moment. I'm not chasing it. Yeah.
Gotta be ready for when you start chasing it.
Yeah. Those are good points. Really, really good points. And yeah, I love the whole 16 weeks Cameo coaching coming in and helping you out, and those little nuggets you get from each of those coaches is pretty critical. Lewis, what about yourself? What'd you pick up the past month or so? The biggest shift for you?
I think when I came in, Handover, I kind of positioned it as a reporting tool, something to just save time. But off the back of some of the conversations with the guys who were great, I think it's became a bit more than that. It's actually a retention tool now. So, for example, there was a study in 2024 which essentially said that 23% of MSPs lost clients comes from poor account management or communication. So not only does it save you time, it also, in theory, keeps your clients, because you don't have to email them, but then also that communication's going out for you, so you're not missing a trick on anything like that, which I really kind of only opened my eyes to because of what some of the guys had said. So really insightful.
So a question then, and it's kind of for both of you, because Shaun, yeah, you're right. The epiphany of engineer led, also MSP vendors, which is what Lewis is essentially too, right? Is about 60 to 70% of the people that we see were currently MSPs. So, from this now, one thing that I noticed over the years is you start to readdress your messaging. And probably I'd be curious at the end of this, I'd like you guys to think about this. Start putting a tick mark each time you change your messaging based off what you think your product really does, right? Because each time I'll tell you, each year, the people that are the finalists, they probably have reworded their messaging, and sometimes they still use some of the same stuff to a degree, but probably 10 to 15 times over the 16 weeks. And their whole entire approach to presentation is different. They're not changing what they're doing as a business. It's just putting in the words that make the most sense for people of what you're really there to solve for. Like you said, retention, very different than saving time.
And do you think that's both Shaun, do you think that's because the program's helping you really think about being concise, landing your message well as inward reflecting on what's the signals are coming back with how the business is going day to day?
Yeah, yes. I think the first thing that you really have to address, what ends up coming out of you, is what are you really solving for, right? Because what happens is, and Shaun, you've been doing this for a little while, as you start developing enhancements to what you do, you start talking more about your enhancements, but that's not what they're just enhancements. They're not the core. They may be cool as hell, right? They might be fun, might be really neat, but at the end of that, it's still you still have to come back to the core reason what you're doing, right? And I think every entrepreneur slips into that because it's so hard, because you're excited. You're like, look how cool this is.
I love a feature.
I do this. No, you don't. You do all this. This is what you do. And I also think the other thing is, a lot of people start, because of the customers you've supported, especially in early stages when you're chasing deals, it starts to alter what you do. And that's like when I did my session, I talk about focusing, right? Stay focused on what you're really there to do, right? And they forget what that thing they're solving for is, that one finite thing. Because then you become almost like a Swiss Army knife, and you can't be, because even the largest companies can't be that either. Microsoft isn't, right? And they're one of the biggest companies in the world, right? So if they're not, how are you going to be that? So I think that's the other thing, is when you get back to your core focus of what you guys are there to represent, what you're there to solve for, and just changing the verbiage. And I think the one last thing, especially coming from you guys, I made the joke about Birmingham, but the reality, there is a loss in translation in some things that you would say, depending on what markets you're talking to, you have to adjust that the verbiage for that, right? A telephone booth, what is it called over there, Lewis? What's a telephone
Don't
booth?
even know.
Look at
A
you.
phone booth. I think people my age would know a phone booth.
Yeah, I guess so. He doesn't know what a phone booth is, does he?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Dear Lord.
So
I know the red.
in talking
the
about
rest.
this, I'm gonna do a little tangent. Just high level, Shaun Lardo. What were you doing at 18? You were digging holes probably for the
Do we
army.
I
want
was in the army. Gone. Right now, about this time, I don't know. When did you turn 18?
12th October.
Okay, so you're 7. Okay, yeah. I was in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, getting ready to go to Port Benning to go to jump school. Yeah, that was what I was doing. Yeah. Not as cool as yours.
What about you? What were you doing at 18?
I think I had I think I bought a terrible car. I thought it was awesome at the time. Thought it was cool. I think I put too big a stereo in the back, so it was actually like too heavy.
Was it your Alpine speakers?
Yep.
I had a one big Rockford Foxgate, 15-inch in the back. The car was like a 1500 twin carb. It was no power, but I thought it was tight.
It's great for the beaches. It's great for the beaches. So sorry about that tangent. I was just thinking about, man, like the knowledge that Lewis is sitting here gathering and the conversations that this is gold.
Oh, that's amazing.
When I was 18, I was sitting there just getting out of high school, going into my first tech college, and college. Then I became a college dropout. So back onto your software, right? So Shaun, Spotto. Give me like a real world example, or how are they using the software to help MSP owners or operators in their business? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so from the if I think of it from the rev gen side, so putting it into new environments and looking at what it's surfacing, and a lot of our, certainly what you'd call your traditional MSPs, they're the ones that are chewing our arm off to use. They're the ones that it really lands well, because it not only surfaces the things to do, it explains it, like why is that thing we should do, and helps pull in pieces that they can package and go and take to those new prospects. So as an example, we had one the other day, that MSP turned it on for a new customer, and they went and found 20 grand worth of services work, packaged it up, and got it signed off within the week. So that gives a new line of conversation, new revenue stream. And then, so that's the revenue side. And then on the ops side, there's a lot of the analysis that's coming through with our recommendations, where we look at what SKU options, what are the different disk types, all of the things that you would normally do in a spreadsheet or spend a lot of time trying to figure out, calculate, Azure Calculator, or that they just don't need to do that anymore. So there's the time saving there.
Awesome. Lewis, what about yourself?
So
obviously it's you sitting in the seat, right?
Yeah, so a PM or a service delivery manager can kind of open up a laptop on a Monday morning or a Friday afternoon, whatever they prefer, and they can have to go through 10 clients, look into the PSA on all the tickets, write an Excel doc from there, any emails that need to go out, and it's just kind of like a weekly overview that they'd have to do, and that usually can take up to about that whole day. Whereas now in the new world, they can jump into Handover, say once a month, They can schedule, Excel reports to go out for specific tickets that they choose or specific projects. They can schedule, emails to be sent out on a weekly basis for the updates over that week, and essentially cut all that out, so they get a whole day of the week back, really.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So let's bring it back into PitchIT a little bit. So I'm just curious, Shaun, why did you apply to PitchIT? What was the calling? What was the need? I'm just curious of that.
I'm quite familiar with ConnectWise, having used ConnectWise as our central PSA in the previous business, and it's quite prevalent out there in the market, of course. But for us, it's really visibility. We're actually in New Zealand, Lewis, but getting our brand visibility, getting awareness, and PitchIT is a really good vehicle to lift your brand and get some visibility to the markets that we serve. It's also a good opportunity to understand the nuances of the market in the US as well, which we're not familiar with yet, and learning. And really, the other line is it's a really supportive program to help. It works with us in our stage because we're early. We're 7 months after going live. It's really good to hone your pitch, refine where your value is, and help sort of get your pitch narrowed down to your value. So it's a really good supportive program for that.
Awesome. Lewis, what about yourself? What was the calling to apply to PitchIT?
So I think the 16-week bootcamp idea really caught my eye. I mean, being a tech-facing founder, sales is always a learning curve, right? I'm sure, Shaun, you felt the same at the start. So I thought if I can really get some insight onto sales here, that'd be great. That was the main thing, really. But also just learning. I mean, I love learning new things, and having kind of an all-round knowledge of marketing and sales. I just find a lot of joy and fun in it. But also as well, obviously the visibility. Getting out to the markets like the US. It's something that's not too easy, especially with a Birmingham accent. So had to. It's gave me a lot of insight on the best ways to go about it, really.
Have you learned anything about it yet to go to market? Have you guys picked up any of it yet, other than Lewis? Obviously, you realize retention, right? But have you guys really picked up anything that's been? You picked up stuff in general, but has anything like tweaked and said, "Shit, I better change this," or this makes more sense? Has it helped you with your offering or your messaging?
I think it was Lee Silverstone, I think, in regards to the moat conversation. And he asked a question about, could somebody make your product in 6 months using AI, or I think it was something like that. Yeah. And I thought, you know what, they probably could. I mean, definitely your big companies, your ConnectWise or your Halo could probably replicate it pretty easy. So it kind of made me, change my view on it a little bit. And this is how we got to retention, really. So then we built a client intelligence feature from there. So that has, or your account history, and it has all your reports in there, and then it can generate, say, a 12-month overview from there, which obviously a new company can't replicate, say, 2 years of data. So, you've kind of got that moat that companies with you won't churn as easy, because obviously they've got all that data already sat there, which is really valuable, really valuable 12 months in or 2 years in.
What about you, Shaun?
I think so we thought we're still a little bit of split brain. We thought we're building a cloud operations tool, that's, but feedback and talking about, we knowing that the 90% of of MSP owners are tech led, and initial early feedback has been, well, this is the value we use, and here's how we use it. It's actually to find things to do and sort of sell stuff to end customers. So that helped think, well, what else can we be doing to generate revenue? How else can we pre-package or do t-shirt sizes for PS type engagements that are put up on a shelf and that the MSP can talk about, or potentially lean into Microsoft funded engagements? How can we make that that easier. So it made it a shift more to what else can we do in the revenue space for the MSP. Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome. So, Lewis, this question's for you, and then Shaun. So, PitchIT is all about learning, growing. Got 16-week accelerator. Then there's the 5-minute pitch you have to do online, and then preparing to go on stage. I'm just curious, what part of your product or your message are you really focused on right now, sharpening the most, Lewis?
I think it definitely comes down to the retention bit, really. So obviously, as I mentioned, client intelligence is a big thing for us. And as I also mentioned, 23% of MSP clients leave due to poor account management or poor communication, and that usually doesn't come down to the account manager being terrible at their job. It's usually just bad habits or things such as forgetting to send that email on that day, or having too much to do and getting sidetracked, and things like that. And we're in a position where nobody really seems to have thought of it from that angle, and it also seems a bit of a shock when I tell customers that 23% leave due to kind of the communication piece. They seem shocked by that. They don't really think of that because it's not something you'd really expect. So I think that's something that we really need to hone in, because obviously if you can retain 2 or 3 more clients a year, that's massive. If they're your biggest hitters,
We've got 2 things that are pretty critical for us now. One is making sure when the MSP lands in Spotto that that feels like home. And what I mean by that is, although it's built for multi-tenancy, we actually want to make sure when they land, there's a portfolio view of their customers. So what are the ranks stacked through the different lenses of cost and security, so they can see immediately, I need to go look at customer X, or these are the biggest opportunities across these customers. So really make it pull it together. So that's number 1. And number 2 is around our next iteration of our service delivery management report. So end of month reporting, the proved value, and there's some enhancements going there to really save that time in those QBRs and end of months.
QBRs, what a great concept. Are you guys integrated into QBRs, or will you act as a QBR?
So we create the end of month reporting and pull in what's changed in the month, so we can see it in ours because we track and audit in the cloud environment, but
sure,
we also pull through the ticketing system from ConnectWise PSA to tell them what work's been worked on, who's done what, and what work is that correlated to, and then pull that up into the executive summary. Look at your trends with security and cost, and then there's a coach that sits on the side that you can educate how to tell that story to the customer. So that's just one thing. Yeah.
So are you then a QBR platform then too?
This is what we just talked about before, Shaun. What are you? I think we're a revenue engine.
Well, QBRs are supposed to be revenue engines, right? But they've turned into the reporting engine, and that's it. Coming back to even Lewis is saying, he's not a reporting, he's a retention, right? And that's the point. I think I don't disagree at all. QBRs are supposed to be revenue generation.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be revenue creation, generation, retention, everything. So it sounds like you and Lewis should probably talk at some point, because there's probably some sort of, let's use the corporate word, synergy there. It's a corporate word.
Great word.
But the reality is, though, there probably is something in there for enhancements, right? But I think you need to be bold enough to say what you are publicly and not give a shit. You have the 18-year-old Lewis compared to what 30-year-old Lewis will be a very different person.
Mm.
You'll take all your lumps in the next 2 years here, and lumps never stop coming. Let's be honest, just these lumps. But yeah, I think you need to be bold about that. If you're going to be revenue generation or revenue creation or whatever you want to call it, are you a sales enablement tool?
Valid question.
That is a great question. So going up one further up the rung. Only.
Well, you're looking for, I think, and this applies to you too, Lewis. Even your retention enablement or whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. Like, there is an overarching something here that you're part of a segment of business, right? A category or whatever, who knows, right? And I'm not saying you are or not, because that's something for you to determine. But as you go on this path, how are you guys going to prepare to speak about it, especially because you got 5 minutes to pitch it later, right? How are you going to narrow this down in 5 minutes? How do you guys feel about that? Just out of curiosity.
I feel fine.
In 5 minutes? You got it in 5 minutes?
I think I'll spend the majority of the time framing up the problem and then dig into the outcome. To make sure we're all on the right page and what the problem is that they're actually solving here.
If I asked you right now to pitch, how long do you think it would take you?
I think it's actually probably like 7 or 8 minutes.
7 or 8 minutes, you think? All right, that's not bad.
Long, yeah.
Lewis, what do you think?
2-3 minutes. I mean, I suppose it depends on who I'm speaking to. If I need to speed it up a bit.
No, it's not who you're speaking to. It's a general pitch. It's everybody and everything. So remember, one of the most important components of any presentation is establishing what you're solving for, what the value add is, and what your credibility is, right? So 2 or 3 minutes, Lewis, you're not getting a second date. Because that means you'd miss a lot of things I just said you have to include, right? There's no way you can cover all that. But then also know that everybody's attention span drops relatively quickly, right? So you only have 5 minutes. If you ever work at a conference, think about it. If you work at a booth at a conference, you literally got 1 minute. They walk up to you, you got like 20, 30 seconds to catch their attention. I mean, maybe they see something cool. You always know who the people are that are worse at pitching their stuff. They have the most glamorous booths. They have to keep them there for something.
Okay, I'll be on the lookout for that next time.
Somebody who sells booths.
I do, but I've sold the companies, I've sold product like that, right? And I could show up at a conference with a booth with a pop-up banner and a tablecloth, and I could definitely do more business than most everybody else because I was so concise. Exactly. Value add is so important. But yeah, I'm done. I digress.
Thank you, Shaun. You know who else is pretty concise? Mr. Keith Nelson. He is our #1 contributor to our Central Mafia users group. I appreciate him. He's actually at PAX 8 Beyond right now. I just left and saw him there past couple days. So
I'm sure he is.
Keith, for joining us here. And I appreciate both you, Shaun and Lewis, for jumping on here. We're going to begin to wrap here. And I just always love meeting founders like yourself. Those people have, building tools, solving problems that they genuinely care about. Lewis, you started out just being frustrated having to work on these Excel documents and you automated it. That's pretty incredible. And Shaun, just going through the whole cloud and just making sure it's super efficient ops, right? And actually now potentially a sales enablement tool. And so, at Central Mafia, we believe in really having MSPs, building strong MSPs and great leadership and just disciplined operations, right? You heard it today from both these guys. It takes a lot of work to build these products. Go out there and check them out. Go to spotto.ai and gethandover.uk to check out their products and get some feedback and try it out. So appreciate you. Shaun, any closing words for you?
I feel like you should let your daughter keep talking. We can listen to her.
You actually heard her? Yep. She's back there. Say hi, Callie.
Hi. See, rather just have her on. I mean, you probably have actually, you want to talk about concise. Children are the most concise when they speak, when they don't ramble about some random story. But it's like, are you hungry? Yes. I want this done. Like,
they're also the best salespeople.
We have a teenager, so it's very challenging. She knows how to work the system. So appreciate you guys. Definitely check centralmafiaug.com and check us out on Facebook. Like the page and join our group for those conversations, real conversations that are there. And join us on our next one next week. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. Peace out.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.